shoot one of my boys in the back of the head.
Yo, get dough, up in the shop, play anything go. Catch me in the hood where anything blow. Catch me in a 150, I'm a Vado. Chevy Caprice box.
Hey everybody and welcome back to What the Hell Happened to Them? A title fight is brewing. That's right, this season, Eddie Murphy versus Jim Carrey. I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill, and joining me on the line is a soybean aficionado, Joe Vekeman.
That's me.
Is that really you?
I guess.
Okay. Oh, okay. And on the audio boards is Lev Van Rensselaer, reminding me to remind you that you can email the cast at whathappenedtothemcast@gmail.com. And our sponsor this week is Shaker Oats. If you love the bland taste of oats made by Quakers, you'll love it with 97% less flavor. Just don't add water or else you'll offend the Heavenly Father Almighty. All right, Joe, what movie are we doing this week?
This week we watched Eddie Murphy's directorial debut and sole effort as a director, 1989's Harlem Nights.
Well, what happens in Harlem Nights? Not with a K.
During the 1930s, a New York City illegal gambling house owner and his associates must deal with strong competition, gangsters, and corrupt cops in order to stay in business.
Did you say this was Eddie's only directorial movie?
His sole directing effort.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And I'll tell you some more stuff. By his own admission, Eddie Murphy felt that he didn't dedicate enough thought or care to the directing of his debut. He was more concerned at the time with figuring out where the next party was going to be. Sure does feel like it.
Even in the writing, like it all kind of limped along.
Eddie Murphy is limping along in this movie for about an hour, and then Arsenio Hall comes in, shakes up the movie, has a lot of fun, and then we go back to limping along.
The limping. Yeah, like you've got Richard Pryor, you've got Red Fox from Sandford and Son, and yet it feels like you're taking advantage of nobody. Arsenio Hall almost felt like he was doing his own thing, despite your directions. Mm-hmm. You've actually got kind of like an all-star African-American cast here.
Absolutely. Eddie Murphy
Not one of them feels well utilized.
Yeah, he once said that the jokes and camaraderie between him, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, Robin Harris, and Della Reese behind the scenes were much funnier than anything that was in the film. Well, that's a real problem, Eddie. That's a real problem. Maybe fix that. Oh, you don't care?
Could have done a little improving, or you could have, I don't know. I get it, right? He thinks he's on top of the world. He thinks he can do no wrong. All of his things are hits. Maybe he feels like he can just kind of sleepwalk through it and it'll be a hit just because. I get it.
One good decision he made, though. I'll tell you, I do like Robert Duvall, but Paramount Pictures wanted Robert Duvall to play Bugsy Calhoun. But Eddie Murphy insisted that Michael Lerner be cast in the role. Michael Lerner is such an underrated character actor. He pops up in a lot of Coen movies. I love him, so... Really cool to see him kind of get his, like, highlighted moment in this.
Yeah, this movie, like the Pink Cadillac we just did, also feels like it has an extremely anticlimactic climax.
Yeah.
It just sort of, like, stops.
Yep.
All right, well, we're already at 2 hours. Let's just wrap this up quick. Oh, bomb went off. The end.
The film was made because Eddie Murphy always wanted to direct and act in a period piece. Also, Eddie Murphy had always wanted to work with Richard Pryor, whom Murphy had considered to be the greatest influence on his work in stand-up comedy.
Makes sense to me. I wasn't surprised to see Richard Pryor credited as the movie began, knowing that Eddie Murphy was directing it. And do you think David Lynch saw this movie and was like, I can open up a movie with just like a big... Oh, no, this came after Blue Velvet. Do you think Eddie Murphy stole this from Blue Velvet, this like opening credit sequence?
I don't know, because he did it poorly. Because the font going over the curtains, like, I can hardly see it. It was, I don't know, didn't match well.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy wanted to do a period piece, but he also wanted this movie to look like it was a period movie. He edited it with the little sweeps and the circle dissolve things. Mm-hmm. Sadly, he also paced it like an old movie, and every scene felt like it was perhaps 30% too slow.
There are some, like, kind of neat ideas that he's, like, trying to do here. Just like with, let's just give black people a platform to showcase their talents, which you really did not see at all, unless it was Eddie Murphy doing it in the 80s. Or I guess Spike Lee was the same year. This was the same year as Do the Right Thing, so that's the other avenue.
Danny Aiello having himself a good year.
I know. I was gonna bring that up too.
The black community has really embraced Danny Aiello.
Strange. It's crazy.
But you actually kind of hurt that cause, because if you make this movie and not try very hard, Eddie, and the movie doesn't do well, the studio exec's gonna say well, America doesn't want black people movies. Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah. The movie did very well because it's Eddie Murphy.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, weirdly.
I was wondering, I'm excessively bored during this movie. Did America not care? Did they just come for Eddie and then left disappointed?
It did well. Maybe it didn't do very well, but it did well. We'll get to that in a minute.
It wasn't top 10 film of the year like he's been used to.
Yeah. But just some more little trivia stuff for you. During the late 1970s, I don't know if I brought this up in the 48 Hours episode, but 48 Hours was designed with Richard Pryor as the con and Clint Eastwood as the cop. Did I talk about that before?
We might have. The Clint Eastwood part at least feels familiar.
Feels very familiar since Jim just worked with him twice.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Go on.
Well, this is another quote. Reportedly, Richard Pryor once said of the film's development and pre-production period that the potential had guys in Hollywood putting money down on new Porsches and vacation homes.
What? Like they thought it was going to be a giant hit?
Everyone in Hollywood thought this was going to be a huge hit. Eddie Murphy is taking the reins. He's got the golden key. He can do whatever he wants, and it's he prints gold. People had a lot of faith in this movie.
Jeez, no wonder he was more focused on parties. Fucking everybody blowing smoke up his ass, and he thinks he can do no wrong.
Exactly.
I get it. I see the system encouraging this behavior. I'm not totally upset with Eddie.
I think I found some stuff here. Okay. In an article from 2011, Eddie Murphy and the original Gangsters of Black Comedy, Harlem Nights, that's what the title was, at the Pops Matters website, Pryor's toning down the Sugar Ray character wasn't scripted as such, and Pryor believed his performance was the result of being bothered with a recent multiple sclerosis diagnosis, which he kept to himself at the time. And I was also looking at his filmography. After this movie, he really slows down and really kind of does nothing. He does stints on one episode stints on comedy shows in the 90s. But then he just shows up in David Lynch's Lost Highway.
Lost Highway, yeah, in a wheelchair, notably.
Yeah, probably from the multiple sclerosis.
Probably, yeah.
And then in his autobiography, Pryor Convictions and Other Life Sentences, Richard Pryor states that he never connected with Eddie Murphy. People talked about how my work had influenced Eddie, and perhaps it did it, but I always thought Eddie's comedy was mean. I used to say, Eddie, be a little nice, and that would piss him off. I finished Harlem Nights thinking that Eddie didn't like me. That feels huge.
That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. It just feels like it's the tone has been set for Eddie in the 90s. And what is he going to be doing for the next decade? That's
interesting because Jack also got to work with his mentor, and he also didn't like the experience. So I guess don't work with your heroes, kids. Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Eddie was fine with it, but Richard Pryor was like, how do you think that we're alike? You have your comedy's mean-spirited, and I'm kind of just not like that at all. Budget of $30 million.
More than Pink Cadillac.
That's right. It made 60.
Made 60? That's not great, though. That did make money. It's not a loss.
Production company, Eddie Murphy Productions.
Yeah. And I could certainly see, he's also the executive producer and director. I don't know why you need to be both, but I could see Paramount being like, where's the extra $200 million, Eddie? Where'd that money go?
Okay, so $60 million domestically and then $95 million worldwide.
Oh, okay. Sounds like, Eddie, you sort of do have the magic touch, because if you could make this one make that much money, you could make any movie do it.
Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert choosing Harlem Nights as ranking among the worst films of 1989.
Where does Pink Cadillac rank on that list?
I don't know. They probably did watch that old hunk of junk.
Oh, that was this year, huh?
Yeah, because that was in June or July.
And this is in November?
This is November.
They're going for an Oscar baity thing. I couldn't tell for just about all this movie, is this a comedy or not? I couldn't. Yet another Eddie Murphy movie where I cannot figure out if it's a comedy.
It doesn't feel like a comedy at all until Arsenio Hall shows up and is just going like as big as he can, crying about his. But like, I know the situation is sad that his brother just died, but like when he's firing off a machine, like a Tommy gun or something, like
yeah,
and it goes right through his like friend in the front seat, and he's like ah. Yeah. He's like just screaming as loud as possible.
No, yeah. Once again, Arsenio, the bright spot of the movie.
I know, and they don't work again for another 30 years.
Yeah, it's very sad. And it's a section where I'm like, especially since, when did Coming to America come out? The year right beforehand?
I believe so. 88, yeah, that sounds right.
Was Arsenio cast last minute because they got along well on that movie? Or was this whole part written in last minute? Did Eddie was like, hey, I really liked working with you. Let me just crowbar this thing in here. Because it doesn't affect all that much in the main movie. It's not entirely necessary.
Yeah.
They resolve it comedically quickly, and it does feel very different from a lot of the rest of the movie.
All very true. He does have the and, so it feels like you're like, hey, let me help my friend out and give him a little like spotlight. Which is funny. Clint spotlights Jim. Eddie spotlights Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
This movie was nominated for an Academy Award.
For a costume or something?
Yep.
Well, it's a period piece. You can't go wrong with that.
No. So it has an Academy Award under its belt. So there is a little bit of a settled out-of-court lawsuit with this.
Ooh.
The part of Dominique LaRue, played by Jasmine Guy, was originally cast with actress Michael Michelle. Michelle was fired during production because, according to Murphy, she wasn't working out. Michelle sued Murphy, saying that in reality she was fired for rejecting Murphy's romantic advances. Murphy denied the charge, saying that he had never even had a private conversation with her. The lawsuit was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum.
How bad does that performance have to be where Eddie Murphy, not even trying, is like, you're not good?
Yeah.
Right, he's not putting in any effort, and somehow this woman's putting in even less, or like it has to be so detrimental, the effort, that he's like, well, this is ruining the snooze fest we're already making.
Yeah. Gosh, this movie. Such a bummer. It's turning out to be more pleasant than I expected, Pryor told Rolling Stone. Murphy is wise enough to listen to people. I've seen him be very patient with his actors. It's not a lark to him. He's really serious. He's on top of the world, and he's doing a hell of a job. Agreed Fox. He sure knows how to handle people with sensitivity. He'll come over to your side and give private direction. He never embarrasses anyone. You walk around here and look at the people, added Pryor. Have you ever in your life seen this many black people on a movie set? I haven't. Eddie seems to be very, very caring about the community, and he's trying to give everyone their spotlight. And about the movie's reception, Murphy said, it wasn't a pleasurable experience. I just wanted to direct just to see if I can do it, and I found out that I can't, and I won't do it anymore. And the biggest thing I didn't enjoy doing it. The problem with Harlem Nights wasn't the directing as much as it was the writing of it. It was just written fucked up. And that's because I threw it together real quick, and then it was disappointing because Richard wasn't the way I thought Richard was going to be. I thought it would be like a collaborative thing where I would get to work with my idol, and then it would be like, this is great, but Richard would come to set, say his line, and leave. It wasn't like a collaborative thing. Later, he said, that movie was a blur. It was Richard Pryor, Robin Harris, all comedians. I remember Richard and Red Fox laughing off stage during the whole movie. The funniest shit was off camera, and we're all just crying. Red was a real funny dude. He would have the set screaming all the time, but afterwards it was like, whoa, that's a lot of work. I was really young when I did it. I had 1 foot in the club and 1 foot on the set. A lot of shit was going on. It's amazing it came together. He also said he didn't know Pryor was sick at the time. He was sick with MS by then, but nobody knew what was going on, and I was like a puppy to him because he was my idol. Hey, let's go make this movie. I never put it together what was happening till afterwards, so it was kind of sad, that part of it. Real sad.
Came together in quotes, but yeah, like you've got these funny guys. I just don't know why they didn't have funny lines. And I guess he was hoping that they would like do half the work on set and like they would improv or something.
Yep. That's exactly
probably
what
isn't the best approach. Or like that's you like I think that you say, Richard, I'm working on this script. Yeah. It's about X. Does this sound like a fun thing? Do you want to kind of like work on this to get, instead of just expecting it would just happen organically?
Yeah.
Is perhaps the wrong approach.
It's like you cast your idol and you're like, wait till he shows up on set. You're like, hey, and I got a great idea. Why don't you help me with the script? It's not
Help
really
me punch
working
this
out.
up because I did this like last weekend, and you can kind of tell.
Pryor's like, kinda. Where are the jokes?
Yes. That was tough because like the beginning feels very dangerous, and then Richard talking to little boy Eddie.
It does, yeah.
Little boy Eddie's like,
It's such a different tone.
my mom is dead and my father's dead, and Richard's like, did you kill him? And I go, okay, that's kind of a joke. It's like a quiet joke, but this might be like a black comedy. And then a lot of the jokes went away. And then Eddie has like that long fight with the lady in the alley.
That is so long, but I enjoyed it.
Am I supposed to be like on his side because she's being mean?
That
is
is
this supposed to be
yes,
funny?
very
Am I supposed to be
confusing.
against him because he's being mean? I don't understand what I'm supposed to feel in that scene, and that's why I'm like, oof, Eddie. Aside
goes
from
on
just
for
like
like 6
boring and
minutes.
lazy shots, yeah. Some directors just do boring, lazy shots, but the actors kind of hold it together, or your script holds it together, or just like you're starting out and you don't want to be too crazy. But like if I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, that's kind of way worse, you know?
Yeah.
But at least he has apparently some good amount of self-awareness.
Yeah, and
I don't know, maybe he could direct if he put in effort, but it sounds like he didn't like doing it anyway, so I can understand why he never tried again, but...
I don't know what his deal is now. I have not really watched Eddie Murphy movie in a new one. I'm trying to think what's the newest release that I've seen of his. I'll do that. I'll go down that rabbit hole.
But if he's just like, listen, I want to have fun, like, you just stay an actor, Eddie, right? You're on set way less. You have a lot less prep time. You do basically nothing in post except some dialogue looping, maybe. Mm-hmm. And you make way more money for less effort and time. Like, yeah, just do that. Just keep cashing those checks, Eddie. I don't blame you. Directing, yeah, hard. If you're not getting creative for filming out of it, yeah, fuck it. It's not worth the time.
Okay. The last Eddie Murphy, like the newest Eddie Murphy movie that I've seen was over 20 years ago. It was called Shrek 2.
I know I saw Shrek 1. I don't know what Eddie Murphy movie I would have seen after that.
Well, not to bury the lead, but he stops fucking making movies at a certain point. Like, so he kind of like, for an entire generation, he's just kind of like the...
Just disappeared?
No, he's the guy that played Donkey. That's it. That's all people know about him now.
Crazy.
Yeah, really wild. What a crazy directorial effort from Eddie Murphy. Crazy as in, he didn't want to do it, and he regretted it from probably the moment he stepped on set.
Yeah, like I don't know, from the outside it looks like it's going to be something very different than when you get inside.
It feels like it was kind of like the Ocean's movies, where like they're having a great time, and then you're like, I mean, I like those movies, but you have so many big actors in the third one. Have you seen all the Ocean's movies?
I only saw the 2 we had to see.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I'm so afraid to watch that third one. I've heard nothing good about it.
But that's one too where it didn't feel like you wrote it for those actors, you know? Like maybe Clooney, maybe Roberts, but like you got Matt Damon, I don't know.
No, definitely not Matt Damon.
Bernie Mac doesn't feel totally well utilized.
No.
Some of those people aren't even like people I've ever seen before.
Maybe
I don't know.
Topher Grace, because they call him Topher in the movie. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Anyways, Harlem Nights. We know why Eddie did it. You wanted to make a movie with Richard Pryor, right?
Well, he kind of wanted to direct.
He wanted to see if he could do it.
There was that movie that the guy who killed people directed it.
John Landis.
And he did the favor for. What movie was that?
Coming to America?
Yeah. So like Eddie was already thinking about directing that movie and then wanted to help out his friend John Landis.
He should have.
Maybe, but apparently that movie would have come out kind of crappy. Right? If Eddie Murphy's not really putting that much effort into it because he's, still in his late 20s and wants to have a lot of fun and thinks directing's going to be easier than it is, like, fine.
Yeah, probably. Because that had a lot going on, too.
So he already had aspirations. Writing the movie... Did he write Coming to America, or at least partly write it?
He's been writing all of his movies since The Golden Child, which I think
Golden
he didn't
Child?
write.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him.
He's like, never again.
Yeah, that's a good point to be like, all right, I can't trust these clowns.
So then he, at a certain point at the end of the 80s, he's like, I can't trust any of these clowns. And then he learns, he's like, well, maybe I could trust some of these clowns.
It's sort of funny, right? If Sylvester Stallone was supposed to have the golden child, and then also around that time
He's supposed to have Beverly Hills Cop, too.
He's got his bit where he's like, Italians feel much tougher after they watch a Rocky film. Like, maybe he's like needling at Sly a little bit in that era.
That would make sense. Everybody should be needling at Sly at that point. He is a silly man at that point in his career, taking himself way too seriously.
Yeah. Well, he's won an Academy Award, you know.
Yeah.
He's so serious.
Well, do you know what I was trying to find the other day?
What?
And I found zero access to it. The Sylvester Stallone directed Saturday Night Fever sequel, Staying Alive, starring John Travolta. Have you seen that movie?
Why did he direct that?
I don't know, but I wanted to see it.
What a weird project for him to take.
His brother did the music for it, Frank Stallone.
Not the Bee Gees?
No, that's why I was like, well, that's weird. Bee Gees are all over the Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, you called the movie Staying Alive. Where are the Bee Gees?
Excellent point. Yeah, what else you got to say about this? You got anything else?
I got a little detour. You want to hear about everybody's favorite, the Daytime Emmy Awards?
Sure. I'll check it out. Why not?
Night 1 of the Daytime Emmy Awards. Can I talk about how crazy that sentence is that I just said?
Night 1 of the Daytime...
Night 1 of the Daytime Emmy Awards.
Oh, okay.
The Oscars gets all done in a night, and then you have, like, the boring technical thing. The Daytime Emmys, I guess you can only rent maybe a hall for, like, an hour, and you're like, well, we'll just gotta... Like, how many categories could you really have for the Daytime Emmys where you need multiple... It's like the NFL draft. You're just stretching it out over 4 days for no reasons. Anyway, somebody won for a guest spot on a daytime drama. The oldest person to have ever received the award at the age of 98.
Wow.
For an appearance on Days of Our Lives, which I guess is still on.
Damn.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Oh, that was exciting. Oh, I was hoping that you were going to say Dick Van Dyke. I was like, who else is 98?
Yeah, what other 98-year-olds do we know? Clint Eastwood? He's probably not doing daytime
He's
stuff.
93, I believe. Maybe 94 now.
Not as sprightly yet as Dick Van Dyke, though.
No.
I feel like I've had to wait forever for this movie to come out that he's doing. Like, this should have been out like 4 months ago.
Juror number 2?
Yeah.
Well, 6 months, because he was, I believe he was in pre-production right before the strike happened, and then the strike slowed everything down, as you know.
Okay.
Really
Obviously.
fucked everything up. And you know, when you're 93, you really can't have any slowdown going around. You need to be, you know, kind of going as fast as you can, as fast as that is. Yeah, Juror number 2. It's supposed to come out this fall. I'm excited. It's got a good cast.
Okay.
You gonna see it?
Wait, pre-production was happening before the strike, and it's still gonna come out this fall?
Yeah, of course. He's had at least like 6 months to make it now. So November till now. That's plenty of time to make his movies. He does like 30-day shoots.
30-day shoots, 1 week edits. He's fucking fine.
I don't know if he was trying to get to a festival either. I don't think Clint's a big festival guy.
I don't think he has to be anymore anyway, you know?
Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, J.K. Simmons, Kiefer Sutherland, Zoe Deutsch, Chris Messina. Hey, there we go. That's a cast.
Yeah, but you know whose name I didn't hear in that? Bernadette. What's her last name? Jones?
Perkins? Bernadette Peters. Wow.
Bernadette
For
Peters.
someone who loves this woman, you really can't remember her gosh darn
Hey,
name.
whoa. Let's not go crazy. She's no Rebecca Cross, okay?
Fuck, how did you pull that one out still?
But, you know,
Bernadette
a
Peters.
cute-looking woman. And I felt, I'm like, oh, I was worried she was like 27 when I'm thinking she's cute. But it turned out she was 41, and I'm like, phew, I'm not a creep.
Still trying to see if she's alive.
She's got to be alive. I just saw her in The Good Fight 8 years ago.
76.
There you go.
Yep.
And you know what? She looked good in The Good Fight, too. It's like she doesn't age. It's kind of crazy.
I'm not going to repeat this. No, she looks great. Yeah, 2011. I mean, I know it was like a decade ago,
That's what I'm
but
saying.
she would have been like
Yes.
60-something. Good for her. Hey,
Yeah.
married in 96. Michael Wittenberg died in 2005.
Oh, kind of a bummer. Time for me to move on in. Let me see if I can cast my charm here on 70-something-year-old
She
Bernadette.
started working on the stage in 1959. So that
She was
is
like 11.
How many decades before you were born?
Okay. Listen, I get her in her last hurrah. We've seen all the horny old lady movies, Joe. We know what it's like. They're up
Those
and
are
at
some-
'em. They're
that's
ready to
a
go.
great genre. We really should just
Yes.
put a little list together for people. I don't know.
That's a letterbox list, right? Like
Absolutely.
old women getting it on. Little Blythe Danner, little Bernadette Peters.
Blythe Danner.
Call me by your name. Here we go.
Hold on. What's the Susan Sarandon in the what's that movie? I liked it a lot.
Thelma and Louise.
No, that's as you know, that is my favorite Ridley Scott movie. Is that a hot take? I don't think so. It's great. It's fucking awesome.
I think it's a movie most people don't think of when they think of Ridley Scott, but I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's a perfectly great movie.
I'm talking about The Meddler with Rose Byrne, J.K. Simmons, starring Susan Sarandon.
Well, I don't remember this movie at all. The Meddler.
Came out the same year we saw all those dang movies.
What about the Horny Ladies Book Club? That can't be what that movie's called. What the hell?
It's just called Book Club. you put the brackets
The
in
subtext. Yeah. Get Bernadette Peters some more work. I want to see her on the screen, getting it on with Sam Elliott or J.K. Simmons or whoever.
You know, Susan Sarandon was married to Chris Sarandon in 1967, divorced him in 1979, kept the last name this whole time.
She got
Good
famous
for
while
her.
she was married. That's a bad spin.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a power
That's why you
play
gotta
because who
keep
the
it.
fuck is Chris Sarandon, right? Do I know this guy?
I don't. Sorry, Chris, but don't care.
He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Dog Day Afternoon.
Don't remember him in that movie.
He is the speaking voice for Jack Skellington.
Really?
Really? I thought that's who he was. Looks like a TV guy. I was going to say he's a voice guy, and then I was like, nope, just Jack Skellington for all the Kingdom Hearts games.
But not for the movie?
No, he's the movie guy.
Okay. And then he also did the video games because he's got the time.
You know what? Bernadette Peters and Chris Sarandon starred in Slaves of New York in 1989.
The prequel to Gangs of New York?
Fucking hope not. This movie was made in the 80s. What was set in the 1980s. I guess it's about artists struggling in New York City. Wouldn't want to call it Slaves of New York anymore.
Nah, you probably couldn't do that. But I'd watch it. I'd check out what Bernadette's up to.
Same year, you probably will love it.
Oh, this year? Okay, great.
Same 89.
She looks the same now. Like she's trying to deal with the devil or something. I don't think that woman's aged in like 50 years.
Bernadette Peters was in Slaves of New York in 1989, the same year as Pink Cadillac. That's what I was saying. Just to clear.
You're on the trolley. I'm following.
Excellent.
All right. What are your last looks?
My last looks, Eddie did this because he wanted to direct a movie. That's why he did this. And he was like, not my bag. And we're like, Eddie, maybe try it again. It's been like 40 years almost. Try it again. He was a kid when he did it. Of course, he didn't. He wanted to direct, but he definitely did not have the correct mindset. Are we in agreement on that? Because he wants to.
We are total agreement on that.
So
yeah, he's still in the party mode,
but he's like past dad mode now. So like he's done making the dad movies. He's like done the full circle. Like same thing with Shyamalan. Shyamalan was like, I want to make my like thriller movies. And he had kids, and he's like, I gotta make some kids movies. Shyamalan's back now, where his daughter just made a movie, and he's like, now I want to scare the shit out of my kids again. I'm like, this is the cycle. So let's bring Eddie's back now, making Coming to America. Let's make some funny movies. Let's get another directing role for Eddie. You got last looks?
Yeah, he just seems like he doesn't want to take his check and go. Like he might just not get a lot out of it. So like, fine. You know, if he's writing his scripts, like a director, especially for the movies I've seen of his so far, his directors usually get to do a lot of background stuff. Like they just kind of have to keep the camera in a place and just let Eddie Murphy do his thing. Like the directing is actually very trivial here.
Yes.
This movie being kind of a moody, perhaps black comedy period piece, like this needed a little more attention to detail than I don't know, the Clumps, you know? So
That's 10 years from now.
but like even coming to America, like your directing isn't extremely aggressive. Like you're not doing much directing in that. So maybe Eddie Murphy would have been fine doing that, and he just like puts the camera down and like lets the funny people do funny things. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe turn the camera on when Robin when he's up on stage and just anybody. Just turn the camera on. Do some funny bits.
We know why he does the movie because they let him do whatever he wants. I can understand why he doesn't want to do the directing anymore. Like whatever, catch your $20 million for doing a Shrek movie and like not have to worry about any of this other crap. You know, go to the voice booth for 3 days and be done with it. It just seems like the smarter play if you like to have fun.
Yeah.
Fine with me. So, and then for our title fight sequence. Jim Carrey's trying to think back to the beginning of the fight and see all the razzle-dazzle Eddie was doing to him in the early rounds. And Jim Carrey's like, I think I can copy some of that, maybe. Meanwhile, Eddie sort of throws a punch and barely grazes Jim Carrey. Is Eddie Murphy getting a little tired? Is Eddie Murphy getting a little distracted by the glitz and glamour and all the talk that he was going to win the fight from the beginning?
He's gonna wipe the sweat off his brow. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he's getting a little blurry here. He's trying to figure his shit out.
This looks like Jim's putting some reps in on that In Living Color show for 5 years. Oh.
Eddie had his chance to knock him out right here and then, but he missed it. Wasn't a bad miss, but it was enough to keep Jim Carrey barely on his legs. So we'll check in with that in another couple weeks. All right, I think our sponsor, let's see here, Shaker Oats, the only
Shaker
oats
Oats?
made by Shakers. You'd dance for joy if it weren't a sinful obeisance towards the devil. And I'd like to thank Lev Van Rensselaer for keeping us Stop laughing. I'd like to thank Lev Van Rensselaer for keeping us sound so slippery smooth. I'd like to thank my co-host Joe Vekeman for stopping by.
Thank you.
And I am your host, Patrick Scale. You can find my features, documentaries, short films, video essays, animations, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at QuixoticUnited.com and social media, presumably with a similar sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Joe, say goodnight.
Good night.
1, 2, 1, 2. I'm coming through. It's Big Snoop Dogg with the red, white, and blue. Yes, indeed. You know we don't fake. Globetrotters coming with the Harlem shake. We get to it and do it. Get things right. Shooting them hoops and making baskets all right.
All right, well, I finally got around to the Workmeister harmonies you sent me.
For your birthday. Happy birthday.
Exactly. Had a little cool down. So I'm like, time to chill and relax after such a stressful film shoot. The little whale watching.
Is it a calm movie? Or is it...
Not quite sure how to answer that.
I've never seen it, so I'm only going off of your love for it.
It seems to relax me, but Bellatar's entire filmography has frequently been referred to as 7 different looks at the apocalypse. So perhaps for others it's less relaxing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that makes sense. But, you know, sometimes I like to put on a very hectic, crazy movie that just calms me down. Like Uncut Gems.
The movie is like 2.5 hours and only has like 29 shots or whatever.
Wow.
In classic Bellatar fashion, he's just like holding that camera there. So that kind of helps the relaxing feeling amidst all the content happening. It's got a nice score. And Bellatar seems to be horny for people eating potatoes.
Hell yeah.
Every movie, somebody's spending a few too many minutes just eating a potato in front of the camera.
That motherfucker would love me. I eat so many potatoes.
I feel bad, though, because apparently it seems like anytime I'm watching somebody in Hungry eat, it's just like a potato on a plate. And I go, that's all that's there? I feel so bad for you guys.
Not an apt name for their country. Well, I mean, maybe it is. They are probably very hungry. Did they not have enough food?
Very hungry over there. I won't get to watch the other movie on the disc, Almanac of a Fall, until I come back. But
Wait, there's a second movie on there?
there's his lost, quote-unquote, color film, Almanac of a Fall,
No.
that he made before he kind of found his gimmick, his black and white apocalypse gimmick.
Oh. That's his?
Yeah, that's his thing, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what his thing was. That's nice to know.
Super long takes, black and white, feels like the world's about to end.
It's Satan Tango. That's the 7.
Oh baby, that's the
hour
7.5 hour movie. Oh yeah, that's bleakly apocalyptic.
Yeah, I remember the day you saw that. They had intermission, and you were able to have a nice dinner. You saw the rest of the movie.
They had 2 intermissions.
That's wild. I mean, you need to.
Yeah. The movie's in 12 parts, and like a tango, and we did 2 hours, which I think was 3 parts. Then they gave us like a 20-minute intermission. Then we did another 3 hours, and I believe that was 3 more parts, maybe 4 parts. And then they gave us, a 2-hour intermission to have dinner.
Yeah, you need it.
And then we did the rest of the movie. So,
Oof.
I felt bad. Like a lot of people didn't come back. They were like, I've got the point.
No.
I know.
What?
I'm like, you've already put in the 5 hours. Just bring it home, guys. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I could never just drop out like that. If I'm into I don't even think I've ever really, unless it's like 70 more hours of a TV show that I'm like, all right, I made it 50 hours in, but there's still 70 hours left. I'm tapping out. I can't do this anymore.
But like, if you wanted to drop out, the first intermission's where it sort of made sense. You've got your money's worth because you did 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's all. That stuff's all really exposition. So if you were bored, I could understand why you think it wasn't going to get better.
Exposition. That's ballsy.
Well, because like they're setting up a whole town. Sure. There's like 15 characters you got to kind of like get familiar with, and their little dynamics and their history. So like,
I will watch this someday.
Yeah, someday when your kids are off to college and you have time finally. You could do the thing, like you can watch a part at a time. Like you can take 40 minutes and just like do one part at a time, I think.
Yeah, but I'd want to do it the same day.
Oh, well, no, then you're fucked. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You gotta do one of those things that I see in sitcoms all the time where like the mother wants to go visit her family and she takes the kids with her, but you gotta stay at home because you gotta work. Like that's your time to shine. That is
absolutely, and that is a year and a half away, so maybe I do the Bellatar filmography in a year and a half.
Just get through all 7 films. By the time you come back, like the shades are all there and you're like huddled in a corner, you're like, it's all coming to an end. Why do we bother? It doesn't matter.
I'm already at that point. I don't need anyone telling me that.
But by the second intermission, like all the cool stuff is happening. Like I don't know why that's the point where you're leaving. Like finally, it's all your hard work's paying off.
Yes, very exciting. I'll check this out someday.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite Bellatar?
I think Workmeister Harmonies is the most accessible of Bellatar's work. So if somebody wants to kind of like peek in, I say start with that one.
And that's your favorite?
I think it's also my favorite too. But this Satan Tango and Damnation got re-released by Arbelos. I've learned to appreciate them more, so I'm liking those. There's also one called The Man from London, this detective one. I'm really into that, but I haven't seen that in 10 years probably now. Wow. The Taurine Hearse I kind of like, but that one maybe I should watch again. I'm waiting for that to get re-released as well.
I remember when that first came out, and I was like, what's this? And then that's all I thought about after that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was. No one talked about it around me, so.
That movie certainly has a lot of people eating potatoes. That is a heavy potato-eating film right there.
Hell yeah.
Also great score in that film. Also extremely, extremely depressing for a movie about two people and a horse that potentially gave Friedrich Nietzsche a concussion. All right. Enough Bellatar. I'm sure our audience is super excited to